Hello, I'm Steven,
And I'm Aaron.
and we've just seen Backrooms,
Backrooms.
new film that's out in theaters right now, starring Chiwetel Ejiofor and Renata Reinsva, and it is directed by Kane Parsons. Here's something I never told you. You know what I always found strangely unsettling?
um, no.
The music video for the Fat Boy Slim song Weapon of Choice with Christopher Walken. I always found the opening and closing of that music video kind of creepy. Just Christopher Walken sitting all alone in this vast, empty hotel lobby. Then he does this incredible dance number in the middle, and then he sits down in the same position that he started in. So you wonder, was any of it real? Or was it just this man trying to contend with the loneliness? I think most people just find it funny, but I always found the opening closing it kind of unsettling in a way. And I think this whole brand of liminal space horror with things like Backrooms and Exit 8 kind of justify that in retrospect.
Yeah, there's something about, especially when you're dealing with things that seem to loop or just go on forever, that feeling of being stuck in a location that you can't understand. It makes it all the more terrifying.
But anyway, as for this whole Backrooms thing, I did not know what this was until 2023 when I just stumbled upon a video in my feed called Saul Goodman and the Backrooms. And I was like, "The Backrooms, what is that? Some kind of meme or creepypasta?" And so I watched it, and yeah, it's the Backrooms, but there's a little CGI Saul Goodman dancing in there,
Oh
and then the
Jesus.
the first person's perspective turns the corner, and Saul Goodman is right up in your face in the camera.
Yeah.
So that was my introduction to this, and then 3 years later, there's a film. So, in the Backrooms, Chiwetel Ejiofor plays Clark, a failed architect with a failed marriage, regularly attending therapy while operating Cap'n Clark's furniture store, a failing business with low sales and a sky-high electric bill. One night, while investigating the cause of his steep light bill, Clark finds a gateway to another realm made up of fluorescent lights and a vast network of empty corridors and strange furniture placements. These are the Backrooms.
I guess I'll let you go first. I'll just say real quick that I've been aware of like this YouTube series for a while, although I have not seen the entire thing. I've seen like little pieces of them here and there, so I'm not aware of like all the lore that has gone into this series so far, or like any types of payoffs that there may be for longtime fans of the series. But what did you think of this?
I liked this. I did not love it. I had a few quibbles.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit as well. I do have some issues with the narrative, specifically the way they tie the character specific stories into the back rooms.
Yeah, that is the main issue. The star of the show is Chiwetel Ejiofor, who does a wonderful job
Yeah,
playing a total loser, a man whose worst enemy is himself.
and
Sympathetic figure, I think, though, to a
uh,
point.
to a point, yeah, it's one of those characters where like the more you learn about them, the more you kind of realize that they are kind of the villain of their own story.
Yeah, they've dug the hole that they find themselves in.
Yeah, you kind of start off kind of like on his side, understanding where he's coming from. Once again, that feeling of being stuck, especially someone at his age and his position, feeling like he's not gotten anywhere in life. He hasn't accomplished the things that he's wanted to. And then on the flip side, there's Renata Reinsva, who plays his therapist, Mary, and she is trying to understand Clark and make him understand himself. She's also like kind of this self-help person who sells like videotapes of her ideas, I guess, or concepts to people. Like it's the very popular self-help craze in the 90s. So we should say this is a period piece,
Yes,
which
and
makes it much more engaging.
yeah, it adds so much more character to it. It takes place in 1990 to be specific. And 2 days before I saw this, I was watching Edward Scissorhands on Blu ray. And as I was watching it and looking at the way it was shot, it's all pastel colors, everything is brightly lit. I was thinking, man, I do miss the days when films weren't color graded to shit
Yeah,
and they weren't always brown, gray, or blue. You could allow the production design and the set design and the colors to just be vibrant,
yeah.
and this is a very vibrant
This
film.
is probably the most colorful movie I've seen since the first thing that came to mind was Pearl, but Wuthering Heights was also extremely colorful and vibrant, um, but in a different way. Yeah, the look of this film is totally surprising to me. I did not expect it at all. And there's the shooting the back rooms and the way that's photographed is one thing, but the way that the landscape and the city outside of the back rooms is photographed is also just extremely impressive. And odd. It's just always engaging to look at.
Oh yeah, and the funny thing is, this movie takes place in 1990. Edward Scissorhands was made in 1990, and yeah, that 90s aesthetic was only like 30 years ago, and yet it's kind of like an alien realm of its own.
It has a very particular look about it. Like the furniture all looks a certain way, the clothing looks a certain way. They got the big shoulder pads for the suits and blazers, and
One of the things I love about period pieces is that there's limitations on the technology, which I
yeah,
think it allows for more storytelling possibilities when
yeah,
you're totally limited in what you can and cannot do. Like there's no iPhones here, so if Clark wants to investigate the back rooms, which he does, he has to get a camcorder,
yeah.
which looks like shit.
Yeah, again, which helps with the aesthetic.
Hmm.
The whole point of like the Backroom series is that it is kind of like that handheld look with the bad quality and the low resolution. So you sometimes you can't exactly make out what's going on, and things are a little bit creepier when you shoot them. Yeah, limiting the technology once again is the right call for the story that they're trying to tell here.
And another note about the time period. I like that effect of Clark whenever he goes to and from the back rooms when he like puts his arm through the wall because that's what it is.
Yeah,
It's like an invisible wall that
yeah.
you could just walk through, and the effect looked kind of primitive in a way that made me think of Ghost, the Patrick Swayze
Oh,
movie,
yeah, I can see that.
which was made in 1990.
Yeah, it's not a super effects heavy movie when it comes to like digital effects or anything like that. Thankfully,
There came a point where I started to wonder how much of this is computer generated, if any, because this appears to be a set heavy film,
it
hopefully in its
it
entirety.
it from what I remember reading, I think it was like 50,000 square feet or something like that. And with that, they just straight up built the back rooms in. You'd have to fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I read.
The sets are fantastic, is the
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. Really, really interesting. Like every room is kind of unique and strange in its own way. The way the walls will cave in to like different shapes.
They'll slope.
Yeah, there's like random slopes and staircases that go to nowhere.
Yeah, they'll slope into a pathway to a wall, and it's the back room, so you don't have to be realistic in the architecture. And I like that they made Clark an architect.
Yeah,
Yeah, he gets in there and he starts mapping it out. It's like, is there what's the structural meaning behind any of
yeah,
this? Does it
yeah,
go anywhere? Does it make any sense? What is this world? That's his first instinct as an architect is to figure out the sense of it.
yeah. That's kind of his character's kind of journey throughout the film is to understand the back rooms as a place and possibly himself through doing that because he's a person like we said who has a lot of personal problems and things that he's trying to work through. Maybe this place is like the missing piece that he needs.
Which brings us to my ultimate problem with the movie. When Clark is introduced, they do a really great job of painting a picture of how pathetic this man is, how far he has fallen. The whole point of his journey is to get from point A to point C. And I feel like after a certain point, he abruptly goes from A to C, and point B is missing. And that's the problem. It's like, well, the transition from point B to point C is the most interesting thing, but I don't quite understand it. Listen, I think I understand the logic of his character progression, but I feel like there were things missing that we didn't see that would have been necessary to fully flesh him out and make his journey make sense.
Yeah. Well, a lot of his progression has to do with things that he discovers about the back rooms and what they are and how they function, possibly. And maybe they don't want to overexpose that to like explain too much of the mystery. But yeah, it kind of does seem like he has a problem and we get a little bit of a perspective shift and then suddenly he's like at his end point as a character.
Yeah, I think his story just shifts so drastically and so abruptly. I feel like there was a few missing elements.
Well, even like early in the movie when he is like mapping out the back rooms, we see him kind of explore it for the first time and then he leaves for the night. and then he has a meeting with his therapist, and he's, doing the crazy ramblings of a lunatic, like,
Yeah, I found a space.
I found this place. You're not gonna believe what's down there. It just goes on forever. It's like my store just goes on and just goes on, and there's all these rooms, and nothing makes sense. And he has this whole map drawn out of the place. And it's
Yes.
like we didn't get to see any of that. So presumably he's been down here for like a week or two.
Yes, he just produces a map suddenly of the place. This happens literally after his first meeting, and so the implication is that he's been there a few times. I think the movie would have benefited from a montage.
Yeah, yeah. It's for a movie like this, a montage probably would have felt pretty tacky and cheap, but there's a way to do it.
I think it also would have befit his character as he becomes gradually more comforted
Yeah,
by the back rooms. It's like he feels totally at home walking around this place, mapping it out, trying to figure out the structural sense of it.
yeah.
So yeah, I think a montage would have been beneficial. Instead, it's just like, oh, I have a map now.
Yeah, and then, Renata Reins's character, Mary, she also has her own journey as a character. There's a lot of flashbacks with her and like this house that is being demolished, so like this new condominium or apartment complex or something can go up in its place.
Yeah, she's haunted by memories of her childhood home being demolished and her
Yeah,
bad memories of her mother,
her mother possibly being maybe abusive or like
at least very overbearing and
overbearing
overprotective,
and yeah, overprotective and sheltering her in the house so they can never leave or go anywhere or do anything.
not allowing her to see the world and experience it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff they do by the end of the movie with these two characters that can leave a lot of people going, "Huh?" or you kind of just roll with it and you start to kind of theorize and think about things that have happened in the movie. That's kind of what kind of turned me around on it by the end. I was enjoying it the whole way through, but the climax and kind of resolution of everything really got me thinking about a lot of things they were doing in the movie and made me like start thinking of like all kind of different potential things that they could be saying or themes they could be playing with or ideas that they are trying to explore.
Yeah, I feel like this would benefit from a rewatch because when I got to the third act, I was thinking, I'm not sure if I'm still with it at this point. I don't know how much sense this makes in the grand scheme of things. And like I said, I was a little bit confused by the character progression, so I wasn't sure. But at the same time, I admired just how weird it got.
Yeah, this movie is not afraid to go totally wacky, insane, over the top, or even be a bit silly looking.
Yeah, I liked how they just embraced that. I feel like by embracing it, the silliness of that image that you're going to see in the third act, it comes around to being threatening.
Yeah, it becomes eerie and strange and like you said, threatening.
Do you think that they over-explained too much in the end, though?
No,
Okay.
no, no, no. I was talking to a friend last night who saw the movie with us. The more I was talking to him, like I was just kind of going through my thoughts, and I kept thinking of, well, maybe there's this thing that they're trying to do, or maybe that's this idea they're exploring, or maybe the back rooms is this, or maybe the reason why they do this is because of this. And it just kept like a madman, like with a wall of string everywhere. It's like, oh, this idea is tied to this thing, and then this is because of this thing.
The Charlie Kelly meme.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. It made me really kind of want to go back and watch like the whole series to kind of pick it apart. And yeah, I also do want to do a rewatch because I feel like there's things you will understand better, or once you have context for certain things, you can kind of pick up more of what the story is saying or what it's.
I feel like the less I know, the better. This movie probably stands well on its own in isolation away from those web shorts.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of the interesting thing about it is like even though I came up with a whole bunch of ideas myself, like even reading comments online or ideas from other people, it doesn't seem like any two people are kind of on the same page about what this movie is or what the backrooms are or what the movie's trying to accomplish.
So what you're saying is it's on the level of profundity of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, it's like everybody's kind of right, and that's the point, I guess.
I think it's nice we live in a world where a YouTuber can just become a filmmaker overnight.
Yeah, and
Evidently, this guy's the youngest man in existence to reach like number one at the box office. So good for
Yeah,
him.
he's 20 years old, I believe. He started doing these when he was 16.
Yeah, I saw some people on Letterboxd saying that this shit was directed by a man who's not old enough to drink.
Yeah, yeah. This is a far better effort than I hate to rag on the guy, but
Stuckman.
Shelby Oaks, yeah.
Yeah, Stuckman, Shelby. I was thinking the same. Like, this is probably on the level, certainly on the level of Talk to Me. That was done by YouTubers as well, and far superior to Shelby Oaks.
A lot of it has to do with the fact that it feels like this is his own little universe that he's created and he's getting to do something big with it. And it feels, for as long as it's been going on, it feels fresh in the realm of horror. I mean, we've gotten things like Skinamarink before, which are kind of similar vibes that they're going for. Although this is more narratively and visually successful, I would say. But yeah, it feels like its own thing. It feels new enough. It feels interesting and engaging. It doesn't feel like 40 years of regurgitated horror tropes like Shelby Oaks did.
Yes, yes. And it doesn't feel like a movie like Shelby Oaks that's just wearing its influences on its sleeve to the point where it becomes, I feel like I'm just watching a series of references.
It doesn't feel like overly tropey. It doesn't use jump scares in a way that feels cheap. There's honestly probably not very many jump scares at all.
Yeah, I don't think there was ever a moment where I was rolling my eyes, where I was annoyed. And despite the fact that there's a couple of younger people in the movie, like stoner type characters, I wasn't cringing at their dialogue like I would a lot of horror movies that use those kind of characters.
Yeah.
Although I felt those characters probably could have been utilized a little more. They kind of come and go too quick.
Yeah. Probably. Well, I mean, they could have been part of the montage that we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. And also, the found footage segments themselves are very good, or I should say the handheld segments. The movie opens with a chase through the back rooms. It reminded me of this YouTube video I like called, I think it's called Cursed Face Chases a Man, and it's a Gary's Mod video of a first person perspective being chased around by a PNG, and it's surprisingly creepy. And again, it kind of reminds me, like we said, the goofy image that's chasing you around. It kind of comes around to being threatening.
But by the end of the movie, that kind of goofy image, there are reasons for it being the way that it is because of what we come to understand about the characters and decisions they make. Really, the biggest criticism is that it wants to be a narrative focused feature about these characters and this journey that they're on, but it also has to be a movie about the backrooms, and it feels like they are kind of shifting from one to the other without a lot of like flow. They don't really like tie together super nicely.
Like when we first meet Chiwetel Ejiofor, I'm thinking, it's a pretty nice setup for a character. What the hell does any of this have to do with the
Yeah.
backrooms?
Yeah. By the end of the movie, I thought that the character journeys reinforced the importance of the backrooms themselves. The movie came back around to actually being about the backrooms themselves rather than the characters. It's like the characters are the way to understand this place better.
So, in other words, you think they tied the characters' journeys and their backstories into the backrooms efficiently in a way that was satisfying?
By the end, I was satisfied. While watching the movie, like especially in the first two acts, it's like, okay, we're watching a movie about a lowly furniture salesman who hates his life and hates his job. Okay, suddenly we're in a backrooms movie now, and then oh, we're back to watching the Furniture Man. Okay, now it's back to backrooms. And then once everything is resolved in the end, it's like, oh, okay, all of this is basically to help us understand this place a little better. And I feel like they leave it kind of open ended to for a potential sequel. What did you think?
It's funny. When the movie ended, I was not thinking about a sequel. I was thinking it's just kind of an open ended ending that leaves you wondering about the possibilities. But I didn't think about a sequel until I went onto Wikipedia and I saw the word sequel in the subcategories or whatever. I didn't even click it to see if there's anything confirmed or if there's
Yeah,
plans, but there could be.
yeah. If they don't make another one, it feels like it's enough of a standalone. Like especially the final shot really leaves you kind of thinking about everything you've watched and what the result of this story has been. And it, yeah, again, it does leave you with a lot of questions and makes you think about. At least it made me think about a lot of things. but there's also, I think, obvious places that the story can go in another project.
So, what is your final number rating on a scale of 1 to 10?
I give it a pretty strong 8. I liked it a lot. Halfway through, leading into the third act, I was like, "This is pretty good," but there's a little bit of slowdown, and I'm kind of wondering where in the world this is going or how all of this is going to resolve. Because, like I was saying, it really did feel like two separate movies for a lot of it. And yeah, I really liked the climax and the ending. I thought it was pretty creepy, effectively creepy throughout most of its runtime, especially when they are in the back rooms and they're going to places and they're doing very strange things. Like you said at the beginning, just that feeling of being in a completely empty space that has the shape of a room, but like none of the details or anything that fill it out. There is something creepy about that.
Yeah, there's something apocalyptic about it,
Yeah.
even.
Yeah.
All the world is a casket.
I think about the hotel when it got renovated and they just tore everything out of it, and
Yeah.
suddenly you're looking at like gutted rooms. I there was a video I took once just going down the hallway of this like completely gutted hallway with empty rooms and just like debris and trash everywhere.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember thinking, man, if I had a script for this, I'd film here.
Yeah, it's an interesting location. It's an interesting concept, and it is effectively creepy.
Yeah, I liked it. I give it an 8 out of 10. I did not feel cheap in the way it delivered the scares, which is always good because that is one of my big complaints about horror movies today. I was not like I was with Undertone, just anticipating the cheap jump scare for the boo to come out and hit me. So
Yeah,
that's good. And emphasis on performances, which is fantastic. Chiwetel Ejiofor is a wonderful actor.
he really is.
He's great.
He just disappears into the sky.
That's the thing. It's like every time I see him, he's like a wonderful character actor who's reached kind of star status. He
Yeah,
just disappears into a role. I'm not even thinking about the fact that it's a performance. He's just that guy. Likewise, it was cool seeing Renata Reinsve in just this American horror movie because I just know
yeah.
her from her foreign work.
And for a movie that at times is just watching somebody walk around empty rooms, it somehow manages to not ever be boring.
Yeah, that also did fill me with a kind of sense of dread because as Clark is just wandering around the back rooms, I was like, dude, don't go too far. You're gonna lose your way.
I was thinking the same thing. It's like, okay, he's like 4 rooms deep now. Like, how far is he gonna go before he realizes, hey, this is kind of a maze. I should probably go back and start this over with a plan.
Yeah. A horror movie that builds dread? Wow.
Yeah, who'd thunk?
So yeah, very good. 8 out of 10, I'd say. So that's The Backrooms. Definitely see it.